Hello, kind people of the internet. James McLean here, working on my Family Games Nights Forever project. Right now, I have a tutorial project open here in Visual Studio Code. This was great. What I was looking for by doing this project was a way to learn about drag and drop on web pages. There is a library called JQuery, and it has some enhanced and easier to use features than just basic web programming. So if you want to look into that, I highly recommend it. It basically can take every object on your web page and make it live and clickable and draggable and a host of other things. You can double click it, right click it, and jQuery automatically adds what's called a listener or an event listener to everything without you having to specifically add a line of code yourself. So, I was looking for a drag and drop that had all of the features that I need, and this is the one I found. It took me 8 parts to
jQuery
go
UI's
through,
draggable
but
and
it's really
droppable
nice.
interactions.
If you're a programmer and you're interested in web programming, I highly recommend you check this out. It is called, as you can see, Jigsaw Puzzle using jQuery UI draggable and droppable interactions part 1. So what this has that a lot of other tutorials did not have is that when you drag a piece over, I needed these slots, if you will, in the puzzle game and eventually on my Tic Tac Toe board to act like slots, like shelves, so that they can only hold one item and no more. But on the other hand, in this thing, which is not something I need for my Tic Tac game, but when you move a piece, it needs to clear the space that that piece was in and make it available for a new piece to come in. I'll show you what I mean. This is, of course, just the YouTube video, so I can't interact with it. I'm coming back over here to Visual Studio Code, and I'm going to run debugging. And, of course, once I'm live, this is not going to come up automatically. Fine, I'll just click here. Darn, this is going to take a little while, folks. Forgive me. I'm going to go to here. I'm going to go to here. And I'm going to run it from here instead of running it from the debug. Okay, so this is my version of the same thing. It's very, very simple just to drag in a new picture. Only a requirement is the picture should be square and the picture should be 400 pixels by 400 pixels. So when you start it, you can see you can drag and drop these pieces. And this is exactly the behavior I'm looking for, and I haven't found it in any other drag and drop tutorial. You see that? Because there's a piece here already, if you try to drag a piece on top of that one, boom, it says, no, no, dude, go back. Get out of here. However, as long as it's open and empty, it's fine. It'll drag in and then click right in. But if there's a piece there, rejected, rejected. Love it. And also, one of the things you have to watch out for is, you see now I'm moving this piece over here. It doesn't happen automatically that this piece opens up. You have to write code to actually clear away the class that was placed there when a new piece was placed there. So see now that there used to be a piece there, so it should have been like closed, but it opened back up again because I moved the piece away. I'll show you some of the code that makes that happen. Hopefully you'll find it interesting. Here's Visual Studio Code. So to help you like understand the code as I explain it, let me give you some of the names of things and the rundown of things. This large area, this large rounded corner box around everything, that's called the container. And this smaller box on the left hand side, that's called the pieces container. And this larger box on the right hand side is called the puzzle container. The button at the bottom is either called the reset button in some cases, or the start button when it's a start button. There's actually two different objects in the code, and they quickly get switched out and put into the same position, so the user doesn't know the difference. It looks like one button is being manipulated just to change the text on it, but actually they're two different buttons and they do two totally different behaviors. Um, that's one of the things you kind of get for free with JQuery, as I was talking about earlier. Now, JQuery has a special character, the $ here, which kind of invokes the JQuery engine and tells it to like search through the web page for something that you want to like address or talk to or add an event to. So this is really key. I hope you can read this on your screens. It says $ quote dot draggable piece end quote end parentheses and then dot draggable. So the name draggable piece in and of itself doesn't make a piece draggable. It's only when you invoke this function draggable on that object that you actually make the function draggable. And this next line down here, the revert colon quote invalid quote comma, this is what actually makes the piece rejectable, basically. So if I'm told to revert, then if the drag is made invalid, then I revert to my original starting position. That's basically what that is saying to do. Sometimes you get things in programming that are pretty logical and easy to follow, and sometimes they're pretty dry and hard to follow. This is pretty easy to follow. If my drop was invalidated, then revert me back to my original position. Okay, makes sense. All right, now classes inside of web programming are something that you associate with style sheets. They have a broader meaning in other programming languages, but in web programming, there's a whole area of it called cascading style sheets. A style can be embedded into your HTML page, as it is here. You can see I have an index.html page, then I have a style tag which puts styles right into the page. But what is more common is to split the styles out to a separate web page or separate file, and that would be called your style sheet. And you link that with a link tag, just like this one here. This is another style sheet that links the jQuery styles, the jQuery-UI styles to be specific. You can see these files get the extension CSS, whereas JavaScript linked files get the extension .js. But back to the point I was going to make, when you have a style, you link onto classes that you put into your HTML page. There's three main things you can link onto with style sheets. So basically what you do is with this heading here, you link onto something, and then inside of the curly braces, you actually tell it what that thing should look like. So to translate this, in this part of the code here, any object on my web page that has the class of piece should be styled this way. It should be given a width of 100 pixels. It should be given a height of 100 pixels. It should have a border of 1 pixel solid and black in color. It should be floating on the left-hand side of the page, and the background image should be a URL popupgirls.jpg. Background repeat should be set to no repeat. So this class is associated with just one puzzle piece, just 1/16 of the overall picture, and it uses the same graphic as the main puzzle, basically. However, there's code later on which takes out just a few of the pixels of the main picture, just like 1/4 of the row and 1/4 of the column. This is all done here, but maybe I'm going too much into this other thing. Anyway, the whole point of doing this whole episode, and by the way, the source code for this is up on my GitHub. My GitHub name is Shakespeare1212. So basically, eventually, all of the code for Family Game Night will probably be up there too. I don't know if I've decided completely yet on that issue. But GitHub, oops. GitHub. Sorry about that. Okay, so here is Shakespeare 1212 puzzle dash query UI drag and drop. Bingo bango. Now, I'm right in the middle of the process of adapting this to my project, and that means that what I want to do is basically instead of the 4x4, I'm going to have 3x3 for my game board. So like I'm going to use these three, and then I'm going to try to save as much of the drag and drop functionality as I can. And that's the plan. We'll see how well that goes. I'm sure it will go pretty